insist in their passion for the game they love. I have a very, very exclusive guest today, and he is the owner of Dugout Mugs. Might have seen him in the MLB, seen him have his advertising with his mugs. He has helped many, 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 many MLB people and as well clients from all around the world. He is well known. So if you want to know some business things, today it'll be your day. We're going to talk not just baseball, we're going to talk business, life outside of baseball. I mean, because we know that most athletes, once they get done playing ball, they have trouble, which we know that, Chris. They have trouble. They don't know what to do, how to do it, where to do it. I was one of those guys that say that, but today we're going to dive deep for the next 29 and a half minutes. We're going to talk about business outside of baseball and what are some things you can do to be successful and follow your passion. Very own owner, Chris Durant. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good, man. What's happening? How are y'all?
I'm doing very, very good, man, and thank you for coming on. I'm glad we finally caught each other.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and just dive in. You from just talking before we get on the air, you said that you had started several other businesses.
hmm
For the listeners that are coming on now, we got guys that are coming from the independent league. We got guys that are trying to make transition from playing pro ball, and they don't know what to do. Which apparently you found your niche, and you're
Yeah.
doing it, and you're doing it at a high level. What are some things that you learned in the beginning that you wish that some of the listeners can kind of gravitate on?
I don't think enough people spend enough time reflecting on what's important to them. I think that of all things, that's probably at the top of the list. If people are ever asking me for advice, which they do, and I tell them, the whole cliche, don't put the cart in front of the horse. So you got to pay attention to what's important. What do you stand for? What do you not stand for? What's important to you? What's not? What are you willing to risk? What are you not willing to risk? And what brings you joy, right? I
I
tell
like that.
people chase the happy, not the hustle, and chase the happy, not the money. I mean, it's all kind of the same thing, and that's really what I would say the number one thing I suggest to people is identify sooner than later what matters to you. And then it's kind of funny all the things that like I got a lot of things come across my desk, and it really comes down to it either fits in line with who I am and what I'm doing, or it doesn't. And it makes the
Okay.
yeses and nos real easy
Okay.
because you can get caught up. I was in the gym business, you were in the mortgage business. Like, you get caught up in something, and then you 3, 4, 5, 10 years in it, you're like, damn, this is not what I wanted to do. And then no, you can't. That's an asset you can't get back, man.
Back. That's right.
Time. So
That's right.
spend a few more minutes on the front end figuring out if it's something you want to be a part of or something you want to do before you get into it. I'd say that's the number one advice.
Well, I like that because which I told you I was in the mortgage business for
Mhm.
14 years, and the only reason I was there, Chris, is going back to what we talked about the introduction. I didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
I just didn't know what to do. I was kind of lost. I had just given my life over to Christ. Just getting married. Kids. Just starting off. My dream had vanished because I got in a car wreck. I hurt my rotator cuff, my throwing arm, and I was just like bombarded. And I kept got tired of sitting at home dreaming about doing baseball when it was over. And so with that, some of the things you just said is chase the happy. I have never heard that one before.
Mhm.
But basically trace trace what's in you, chase that dream that's in you outside of baseball. Because if you can't do baseball, there's some things you can do outside of baseball. With that, you had quite a few ups and downs, I'm quite sure.
Mhm.
And my question is, when you had your first challenge as a businessman, because we're trying to help these guys understand, how did you handle the adversity when you first started? After that first year, you had so many different businesses. So what did you take from one business to the next business to say, hey, I got to get better?
Well, there are different chapters in life. Like when you're first starting off, it was a punch to the ego, and that's something you had to get past. To maybe realize that this is the universe or God's way of telling you you're not on the right path.
Right.
And I think that'll happen a lot, but you couldn't see that. You were too close to the situation back in the day,
That's
or
right.
that I was, I should
That's
say.
right. I.
And I kept fighting against kind of like this immovable force, like
Mm-hmm.
swimming upstream.
Right.
You're just gonna get tired and tired and not realize, oh, this ain't the stream I'm supposed to be in. So I don't look at like I feel like you're either winning or learning, right?
Yeah. 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 I'm with you. I'm
And
with you. I'm with you.
and and so hindsight, the lessons I was learning were not a lesson in the moment, you know. But my first real adversity was, and how I got past it was realizing, and this is very relevant to ball players and veterans and military, because I work with a lot of first responders and military. It's what you do isn't who you are, right?
Right.
And losing an identity, and that's tough. But that's actually really tough. I've seen it in people and players. That's why players keep coming back until the wheels are completely falling off. It's because it's
Correct.
like, I don't know what else to do. This is who I am. This is, and the truth is, it's really just what you do,
Mm.
right? And some of the guys that have really figured that out, I think, are way ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, realizing that I was good at real estate, I was good
Mm-hmm.
at consulting, I was good at these things. What what it took a life altering moment for me to
Mm-hmm.
realize is, it's like, oh, I was this, and that's just what I was doing. And
Doing.
really, just, again, back to reflection, man. You hear me talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Is the reflection on identifying the difference between what you do and who you are. It's a big
Right.
deal.
Right. That's good because there's a passage in Jeremiah 29:11. God talks about He knows the thoughts, and He knows He has a perfect plan for you. I'm paraphrasing it. He has a perfect plan for you. The question is, do you get the plan? Because a lot of times, like, I'm going to speak for myself. When I was playing baseball, that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else because I thought
Yeah.
baseball was gonna be my whole life. Because when you're younger, you think of now. You don't think about what's going to happen 25 years from now. What's going to happen 30 years from now? And am I setting myself up for success? And with that, I'm looking at your awesome website, and you got tons and tons of people on here. And for someone that's just like I said, somebody just starting a business, what kind of advice? Because you got quite a few celebrities.
Mhm.
You got truckload. You got an encyclopedia of celebrities. For someone just starting their business, what is a tip that you can tell them? Okay, they know what the plan is. They got the plan. They know what they're here for. They know what God's given plan is. Well, my question is, how do you get from one level to the next level and you start getting all these celebrities?
It sounds cliche, but one step at a time, right?
I
Now,
like it.
I actually had a chat with a guy earlier. There's a podcast I'm going to be doing in a couple weeks, and it's about relationships and networking, which are things I'm very good at. And one of I said it, and it came out of my mouth, and it was like somebody else said it. It resonated with me so much, and that is, it's not other people's job to remember you; it's your job to be unforgettable. And I feel like that is the epitome of what I have become, just unapologetically authentic, right?
Mm.
Which sadly stands out in this world because everybody's so full of crap.
That's it. That's
But
it.
it's just a big facade.
That's it.
But I would say, from the celebrity standpoint, endorsement standpoint, and it's an unfortunate truth, right? That type of social proof credibility is so, I mean, people are like, oh, I don't have to do any due diligence on this person, look at all these people, right? Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
it's part of it. um but what I would say is, start with the lowest hanging fruit, and sometimes it ain't that low. You got to figure it out. I'll tell you a story.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Actually, you can't see it, but over here is a picture of me and Griffey, and I
Okay.
gave him a lifetime achievement award in LA, 6 months after we started the business. And we got, I was beating up the phones doing sales, and this lady, I talked to her, and she's like, hey, we're doing the Pro Baseball Scouts Foundation Gala in LA at the Beverly Hilton Hotel.
Okay.
Exclusive. I was like, oh, cool. So she ordered a case of mugs, 36 mugs. And for those who don't know, we turn baseball bats into beer mugs.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what we do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Show that up.
But
We want to see that.
we made, but she made them for centerpieces. And I was like, oh, I said, well, you got a bunch of people getting mugs, or getting awards that night. You want to make you some, so, 6 or 8 more for the guys getting awards. She's like, oh, that'd be great, but we're really busy, and I don't really need one more thing to do. I said, don't worry, I'm gonna be in town anyway. I'll just hand them to them. And I'm in Florida, she's in California, buddy.
I like
So
that.
I was in town by two airplane flights, you know, back in coach and Airbnb and an Uber. But I was in town. So what I did is I got there and I said, "Hey, I got these mugs. Your stuff's ready to go." Me and my partner at the time, I was like, "We're gonna jump in and help you. We'll help you put the tables together. Just here to help. We got nothing else to do." And so you're getting in good, and it stood out. It stood out, and I said, "Here, let me go drop these off. So you got them backstage. I'll take them." So I went backstage, and I told the photographer, I said, "Hey, I got all the trophies for all the awards for the people that get the lifetime achievement awards and all these awards." And the guy's like, "Oh, well, just hang out right here. Whenever they get off stage, I'll let you present it to them, and then I'll take a picture of you." So I was like, "Okay." So I missed the whole event. I stayed backstage, but Dave Winfield and Justin Turner and who else was there? Griffey Senior was there. Griffey Junior was there. Buster Posey was there.
Okay. Okay.
So it was a great group. And I think, yeah, Buster. Yeah, Buster was there.
Yeah, he's a Floridian guy. He's from Florida State. You know that.
Yeah, Seminole. So anyway, I was 6 months in. I the answer is always no if you don't ask. So quit being a coward, straight up. And I was like, hey, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm here to help. Give first in relationships. You always give first.
That's it.
Stop trying to take from everybody
That's
first.
it. That's it.
And all these things kind of come together and make you unforgettable, and it's pretty sick. But long story short, then you get a picture with a Griffey and a Posey and Turner and all this other, and then it's just like real casual. It's like, oh, hey, I want to send you a mug, this, that, and the other. Just do me a favor, take a shot with it. We use it
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah.
Like, here's a
Yeah.
couple examples. You send them some legit players, and they're like, oh, okay. Now,
I like it. I like it.
now though, fast forward 8 years, we know a lot of these guys. Pete Alonso, for example, fantastic guy. I was like, hey, Pete, we worked on your events, signed some stuff. We're gonna give it to people. Wade Boggs, Pete Rose before he passed away, Pudge Rodriguez, Ozzie Smith, and Andre Dawson, Mike Schmidt. I was at Reggie Jackson's event, earlier this year, and I'm sitting at the table, and Ozzy and Andre Dawson and Mike Schmidt are arguing over who knew about dugout mugs first, and it's like it's one of these things where, you're like, what's going on right now? And then the next morning, you're a Florida guy, so next morning I sit down, it's me and Emmett Smith at a table, and then next to him comes Tebow, and then Urban
Oh yeah.
Meyer, and then to my left is John Smoltz, and I got Barry Bonds on my right. And we're just having
Oh,
breakfast, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like,
what is going on
what is going on, right? But it was these things I had to force my foot in the door,
here?
but now I live in the door,
I got you.
and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's like, sometimes it'll take you a month or two.
Yeah,
Sometimes it'll take you a year or two.
that's
But
true.
here, if you're truly in alignment and you're
That's right.
operating and functioning in alignment with who you reflected on you want to be and what you want to do and things like that, the time to get there really doesn't matter because
Matter.
again, another cliche,
That's the process.
the journey. The journey is what matters. The destination depends on who you are and what you believe. The destination is irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's your journey on getting there that
that's
matters.
right.
And right now, and when I'm done with this chat, I'm gonna go bowling with my kids in the middle of the week, and like that's what's important to me, and those are the things that I determined important to me. So, um, take that for what you will, but like a lot of anybody listening, my thoughts are reflect more on what's important to you, and then
Mm,
build a lifestyle or a business around that fits into your life, not a
right.
life that fits into your
I
business,
got you.
because that is a very, very slippery slope.
Yeah.
And then and if you establish the ladder first, the business first, and then build your life around it, when the business leaves, what's left? If
Correct.
you build your person first and then let the business fit into that, it'll usually be much more enjoyable, but then the person's always still there.
Mm,
And that's something I had to learn, and it's a daily practice. I'm not saying I'm an expert at
right.
it,
Right.
but I'm better at it than most. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You said some powerful things. One of the things you said was give. You said about giving. You talked about giving,
Yeah,
and I'm a giver. You give and you shall receive. That's just something that I believe in the Bible. You said give and you shall receive. And also when you give, you're planting seeds. You're just planting a seed, and you just never know. And also biblical, it says show yourself friendly and you should have friends. That's another other thing that people don't do. Everybody wants to, they want to take, they don't want to give. And
oh yeah, dude.
I could just
The
tell.
long game is so undervalued. I think with business, when COVID hit and all that, and
Yeah.
fortunately we're in the free state of Florida, thank God, and it wasn't as bad for us as some others. But a
Right,
lot of
right,
folks,
right,
they were dealing with it, man.
right.
You can't go here, you can't talk.
Yeah.
Like, it was wild. So I remember having a chat with my partner at the time, Randall, and I was like, dude, we got to figure something out. So what we decided to do was go live all the time. We were going live. I'm calling Pudge, I'm calling Boggs, I'm calling Pete. I'm like, guys, we just got to go live. We're trying to connect with people, stay
Correct.
connected, and bring something of value to them and not ask for anything in return. And if you continue to do that, you'll create a tribe of
That's it.
loyal
That's right.
people. And
That's right.
and we didn't do it for the purpose of we're going to come back and get them later.
Right.
It's like we really built it. We built a community that we would want to be a part of. And I mean, dude, we have 60,000 reviews online. 60,000. Like, show me another brand or business that has that
60.
outside of, yeah, outside of maybe Nike or some
Right, right,
Yeti, and
right.
and maybe not. I mean, we have 60,000 reviews, averaging 4.8 stars. So my point is we've gone so hard building something that people can get behind, that the long game is the plan. Because too much of this burn and turn stuff, people are they're aware now. They're not idiots, man.
Right, 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 right.
At least in that respect, from a consumer
Consumers.
standpoint.
Yes.
So play the long game.
I love it.
And again, it's about consistency. What are you okay doing for a decade or two?
Right, right, right. And not getting such a great benefit in the beginning, because
Hmm.
it always pays in the end. And you said, man, you keep throwing down these nuggets of truth. I mean, because every time you say something, you talked about being friendly, you talked about giving, and you also talked about basically the promise. I call it the promise, because we're working in process, but we're working towards the promise, whatever the promise may be. And I started thinking about what you just said. I said, wait a minute, this is so, it's biblical, everything you're saying, and people think about it, but people don't have common sense. Well, they don't use it. Let's just put that with Chris. They don't use common sense. Forgive me, we don't use common sense. And I said that because a lot of times people, they want to go so far left, they don't want to think right. Okay, like you said if you're friendly to someone, most likely, and you have a genuine heart, someone's going to pay that back to you in return, most cases. And it's interesting you said that, because I'm gonna give you a little story and then you can tag behind it. When I first started doing this podcast was last year in August. And I was like, I prayed over it. God said, do a podcast. I'm like, podcast? I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I'm an athlete. Play brawl. I'm like, who's gonna know me? And then you said the key word. No one's gonna know you until you get out there. You just got to get out there. Once you get out there, they find you. And like, for example, I never would have known I would have had you on the show. I have several other guys that play MLB, and the list goes on and on. Basically, I just tried to go through the process, and the process is painful. Let's talk about that. The process is normally painful in anything: sports, relationships, business. But Chris, why do you think people jump out of the process so quickly? Because they're not getting the instant gratification?
Sure. I mean, it's usually perspective is the problem. Um, uh, and again, this is a daily practice, and the reason I say it here is because I want to hear myself say it. Because I want to hear in the next hour when I'm doing some stuff, I want to hear myself repeat it to myself when I'm frustrated with my 10-year-old or something, right? And one of the most common ones for me is I don't have to do this; I get to do this,
All right. That's
right?
right.
And I think just little things like that are really important from a perspective standpoint. You get to do this. You get to get up every morning. You have the ability
Amen.
to play a sport better than anybody,
That's right.
almost anybody else, and you get the opportunity even if you don't make it,
That's
and you
right.
get to do these things. And the other one that I've really done well with, man, is just being just gratitude, an attitude of gratitude kind of thing.
Yes. I was going to say that. Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you,
Oh, yeah.
if
Oh,
I
yeah.
catch a green light and I don't ever go anywhere fast because I'm never late because I got nowhere to be, right? Which is again by design, by
That's
the
right.
way. But I mean, dude, if I even just catch a green light, I'm just like, thank you, just thank you,
Oh,
a little, and I'm I'll drop a piece of ice and it doesn't go onto the fridge. I'm like, oh, thanks, right? It's so wild, bro. Like all just constantly being
mm,
grateful and saying thank you, it'll change your perspective. And at night, and I taught my daughter this. She comes out and she's like, she's like, oh, what do I do? I can't go to sleep because they never go to sleep because they're kids and they never go to sleep. But uh, and I was like, what should I do? Should I count sheep or should I count numbers? I'm like, why don't you just start going through your day and saying
I'm thankful.
thank you for my dog, thank you for the food, thank you for letting me calm down after yelling at my dad for no reason. Like, just find 50 things to say thank you about,
Thank you, Lord.
and what's going to happen is you'll go to bed grateful, and then you'll wake up grateful,
Mm, that's
right?
it.
And I think just kind of this rewiring of, so all the way back to your question, it comes down to perspective. And there's plenty of things going wrong with me and my life and my business and whatever,
Me too.
but it's okay.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not getting out of here alive anyway. Like, you want to talk about what's the worst that's going to happen, right?
Right.
Um, I have a different perspective on
Correct.
things,
Correct.
about business, about money, about time, about family, um, and I think that right there is a big piece of it
Oh man, Chris,
on
that's
why
good. That's
people
good,
bail
man.
too early because they lack the perspective and value. There's a talk I've done a few times, and it's about currency.
Mm,
Currency in the word itself is just it's a
right.
current. It goes and goes and goes. I believe that there are several currencies working simultaneously. Time, experiential living, fulfillment,
Yes.
money, monetary.
Yeah.
I'm not an
Mm-hmm.
idiot. I mean, you got to have money to live, but so all these currencies work simultaneously. So sometimes the perspective of, oh, I'm not making dollars right now. I'm sure filling up that bank over here from a time, irreplaceable time with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever other currencies you're valuing. So I think from a player's perspective, or a professional's businessman or player or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that there's more at play right now than just that topical metric.
Right.
So trying to reflect a little more on these alternative, these parallel metrics that you could be
Mm-hmm.
really killing it, and
Right.
that could be enough to help you push through some of those financial
Mm-hmm.
hiccups.
Yeah, I like that, Chris, because there's another scripture that says, "As a man thinketh, so is he." So if you think that you lost, you've already lost. It starts up here, like you said, perspective, but also it starts here. If you start saying, "Well, I'm a winner, I'm a winner, I'm a winner," because you said something earlier, which I love, and I use it all the time. I never lose. It's either
Right.
winning or lessons. That's how I
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
life.
Winning or learning. Yeah.
It's because, and I like you said that, so I'm like, this guy's like, he's reading my mail. The only difference is, I say things a little different, but they pretty much mean the same.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're not in left field and I'm in right field. We're
Yeah.
pretty much in center field together. And I said that because I'm like, wait a minute. I was just telling my wife this. I said, do you know every day I thank God for waking me up? Every day. Every day. Anything I go through, I just thank God for it. And I said that going back to gratitude. There's so many people don't understand what it's like to live in another country. My wife's from a different country. She's Latina. She comes from a different country. Things that we have here, she's not accustomed to. She's just not. They're not used to having the freedom to be able to do X, Y, Z. Let me give you an example. You can talk about is entrepreneurship. When you get a certain age, she's from Mexico, and a certain age in Mexico, and especially a woman, let me use a number, 40. That's the number. They don't think you're as valuable, so they don't hire you. And here in the United States, that's why I said thank God, because now I'm not saying her age, but now she's an age that she can still work and have free enterprise. And we're so ungrateful for that. Well, like you said, you get an opportunity to go work or have a business or go play baseball or whatever the case may be. And I said that because there's another word that people don't say, Chris, which I'm quite sure you tell your kids, is the word please. So when people ask me, so give me, I'm like, wait a minute, time out. I don't give it to you, but sometimes it's perspective, but the choice of words we use are not the right time. You know what I'm saying? Because when you have a relationship, you feel a little bit more free. You know what I'm saying? And I said that because I always say these two words go together: please and thank you. Because like when you send me an email, I said thank you, or I said please, thank you, and please, and it's because it's a lifestyle. You know what I'm
Yes, a
saying?
habit,
It's a have. I don't have
a
to think.
belief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't have
Yeah.
to. I don't have
Second
to.
nature.
I don't have to think about it. It just rolls off. And I tell my kids that as well, especially my son. I said, he'll say, "Dad, give me." Excuse me. But he knows I'm getting him to remind him as he was a kid. Say, listen, even though you're a little older now, the rules don't change. They still don't change. And I'm saying that, I think that we need a little bit more gratitude, thankful, and pleased, because this is a generation of gimme. Just gimme. Give me what I want, when I want it, how I want it, and don't care what the consequences is. Let's talk about accountability as a businessman. That's something that we don't talk about as a society as a whole.
Yeah,
And
there's a lack of that going
a
around.
lack of accountability.
Accountability for
And
sure.
and you said something earlier about your business partner, and it's interesting because I do. We talked about being friendly, show yourself friendly, but in business, because I have a business as well, I know if me and my business partner are on the same page, if I'm having a bad day, he has a good day. But the key was we had to build a relationship. A lot of times people think building a relationship is social media. They think, and then they have no social skills. Can you
Yeah.
talk about a little bit about the accountability and the pluses and negatives of social media?
Uh, Social media is just a tool. You know, um, the guns don't kill people. It's a tool. Knowledge is a tool.
Amen.
It can be used for good or bad.
Amen.
So could a gun, so could a car, so could social media. It's a tool. And I think if you're not skilled at what that tool is meant for, you're going to misuse the tool.
Mm.
Now, it's great, it's fantastic, and it's scientifically proven to be fantastic at addicting chemicals in your brain, the dopamine shots from likes. I mean, it's
Right.
wild,
Right.
but
Right.
it's not on accident, right? So I think social media does more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there are some, just like there's good and bad people in the world.
Right. Right.
I'm not gonna say it's across the board
Correct.
bad. I used it to build an empire. I've done $75 million in sales through social media. Like I'd be an idiot to say it's all bad. That's pretty good.
That's pretty
But
doggone good to me.
right, it's pretty solid. But the accountability comes down to again reflection. I'm 300 pounds, dude. I'm not running hurdles. Why? I can't jump, right? If I can, it ain't that high. So it's like you got to understand what you're good at, what you're not good at,
Mm.
what you want to do, what you don't want to do,
I like
and
it.
um, accountability is you saying, and this is in marriage for those out there that are married. It's teams. If you're playing first base, bro, play your position.
That's
You know,
right. That's
if
right, Chris. That's right.
if I'm really proficient at making money and handling finances and doing bills, and my wife's really proficient at just keeping
Right.
stuff
Right.
organized and
Right.
our calendar, don't get in my lane. I'm not going to get in your lane.
Mm.
And I think people aren't equal. That's okay.
Right.
Maybe that's a lot of people don't like that. I don't care,
Me either.
right? We ain't equal. My wife
That's
and I are
right.
not equal.
That's
We
right,
do
brother.
different things better
That's
than
right.
the other.
That's right.
So it's the sooner you can come to terms with what you do better than me and what I
That's
do
right.
better than you, and then be totally okay with staying the hell out of each other's lane,
That's right.
we'll be really happy.
And no drama.
Or happier, right?
Yeah.
Less, and I would say no drama. Let's say less drama. But it's
Chris,
same
I
in
like it.
business.
Right.
Same in business. If I know without a doubt my superpower is sales, branding, marketing, networking, big deals, no, cold blooded, in a closing table. Like, why am I doing customer service?
Right.
Why am I focusing on operations? Why am
Right.
I dealing with CFO stuff?
Mm.
Right. It comes down to reflection again. What are you best at, and are you giving yourself an opportunity to do that every day?
Mm.
And if and I remember when Randall and I had conversations, he's like, I don't want to talk to people. And I was like, I'm gonna lose it on people. And so we need Karen, and he would shout out to Karen if she watches it. We're the first employee ever.
Good
Karen's like,
job. Good job, Karen. Good job.
yeah, she's like, I don't mind dealing with people. It's like, guess what? You're hired. And that's what it is. It's like, my wife hates cleaning and I don't have time for it. Guess who has a housekeeper? Right. So do what you do best, outsource the rest. I tell people that all the time. And I think it comes back down to reflection and, identifying what you're good at or want to get better at, because sometimes that's in there too. It's like, man, I really wish I was better at digital marketing, right? But I'm
Mm,
good at sales, so maybe I can do it. So but as soon as you can identify what you suck at,
right.
get as far away from it as you can.
Mm,
That would
I
be my
like that.
suggestion, because it's easy to commit and be accountable to something that you planned on being good at, right?
Hmm. Or you love it, or you just love it.
Oh
You
yeah.
love doing it because then it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
become a task. It doesn't
Oh
become a
man,
task.
I remember Randall and I had a conversation one time. Being in public settings, it just like drained him like a battery. And
Wow.
then he would take 2 days to just recoup. Me, I could be going on 4 hours sleep. You put me in a room, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
And I come out the other side just like completely energized. It's really awesome.
Right, man. I like that, man. Basically, you discover your God-given gift, whatever God's given
Yeah,
you. You know how to maximize your gift. And you said,
sure.
in other words, you said superpower.
Yeah.
We all have superpowers. The problem is, do we tap into it? Because
No.
a lot of times we're trying to figure out what's Chris's superpower and what's Seville's. Wait a minute. I have a different power. We can work together if you figure out what your power is. Chris, I thank you, man. We're at that 30-minute mark. I'm gonna respect your time. And we got the very own CEO of the Dugout Mugs, Chris Durant. It has been, man, it's been out too fast. It's too quick, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, can you give a couple closing remarks before we close out? Because I'm
Yeah.
respecting your time, man. I
Yeah,
really
no,
appreciate it. Thank you, man.
I got a few more minutes. Like what kind of stuff you want to touch on?
I got a few other things I want to touch on.
Yeah, hit
Is
them. What you got?
for a person that is making that transition, and they finally got the transition, but they're kind of juggling. Going back to what you said, perspective. And do you think that coaching is needed when you okay, for example, someone's been playing a sport for so long. That's all they know, but they want to do something else because they can't play anymore. Do you think coaching is one of the things that they can get that will help them because they're so used to being coached at a sport?
If I always tell people, man, if you don't have anything to say, don't say something. If you don't have anything to teach, don't coach something.
Mm,
Like, I mean, yeah, are coaches needed? Yeah. I think only take advice from someone who is where you wish to be, right? So if the person wants to go in, if it's a guy who was a hell of a batter and he wants to go give pitching advice, maybe not, right?
right.
If it's somebody who lost his wife and children in a traumatic car accident,
Mm-hmm.
and their advice, they want to go help people struggling with loss and focus and these types of passion. Sure, maybe that, right? So it really comes down to, if you have something to give, if you it's truly valuable, right? Then yeah,
Okay.
but don't get involved in coaching, advising, or anything else if you're not mentally, physically equipped to do so,
Mm,
or else you're doing people a disservice. If you're doing it for selfish reasons because you have a hole that you don't know how to fill
right.
otherwise,
Right. Right.
no. If you have value to share with others to make their path cleaner, shorter, faster, more lucrative, more fulfilling, then yeah.
Mm, that's pretty deep in depth. I mean, because now our generation is different. Me and you pretty close in age, the same, and the generation now is totally different. They think different. Their
Mhm.
perspective is different. We didn't have social media growing up. I didn't have social media. We had to get a book and figure it out and ask mom and dad and you do some research. I mean, real
Dewey
research.
Decimal, the Dewey Decimal System, bro.
Like real, the
Remember that
real,
thing?
right? The real research. We had to go to the library, and we had newspapers. We don't have newspapers anymore. We do, but we really don't use them. I said that because I want to talk about the last thing is belief.
Yeah.
You talked about belief quite a bit, which I told you I'm a believer, and I walk the walk. I'm not perfect, nowhere close to perfect. I make mistakes, but I always know how to get it right, and I'm thankful. God
Mhm.
gives me grace. Can you talk about you believing in your dugout mugs because you went from so many different challenges. You had different seasons going through different thing. Now you hit it. For the person that's going through it so much, their belief is almost they don't have any more belief, Chris. They're tired. They've tried 8 businesses and it ain't work. What else can you tell them besides that you've already told them?
Um, I, I guess you know, having faith in the God of your understanding is important, right? Because it's different for a lot of people, and
Right.
that's okay. But you got to have faith in something. I feel like that's one of the biggest downfalls of our current society is there's so much lack of faith in anything, um,
Yeah.
and it's apparent. So uh, being reasonable with what you believe you can do, I think is important. With Dugout, when I first saw the very first mug, it got brought to me. It's like, hey, I got this idea. It's kind of working a little bit. You know, what do you think? And I was like, well, I got a vision that I think we could make a run for it because I had done pretty well in print on demand apparel. You know,
Okay.
20 million or so, in print on demand apparel, which is, I mean, I just looked at it. I was like, that's just like a blank canvas. You know, I could just,
Right.
it's just another blank canvas I could play with and do. And because, you know what, somebody explained it to me one time. I thought it was pretty cool. A balloon, you know, a balloon's this big, right? When you
Right.
and then you blow it up as
It's
big as it can
bigger.
go, and you
Right.
let it go. What happens? It'll go back down, but it'll
Right.
never get as small as it once was
Okay.
because it's been expanded.
Okay.
You do it again, same thing. It's slightly bigger, slightly bigger. So the point is, when you expand, you understand that you are forever expanded and you'll never go back to that small frame of mind again. So
Mm.
continue to push yourself and challenge yourself. So you only have to have enough belief. And again, I am atypical, right? Others, I'm trying to give you something that you can actually implement.
Correct.
And my thought on that is continue to challenge yourself. It's stupid and it's cliche, but it's real. Continue to challenge yourself and expand because you're never going to get all the way back to this small mind that you are now.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. You know,
Right.
it's not an insult, small mind, but you
Correct.
only know what you know.
Mm.
You know, an ant only knows a 5 meter thing around his little house until he goes up in the tree. He's like, oh, wow, this is cool. Right. But my point is like, at one point, I thought making $50,000 a year was insane, and then I was making 50,000. I was hitting $50,000 a month,
Okay.
and then I hit $50,000 days,
Okay.
right? And it's like, oh, okay. So again, it's just the expansion, and then you're back, and you're like, oh, right? It's pretty sick.
Mm. Okay.
To continue to challenge and expand yourself because you will never shrink back to this current frame of
Mm.
mind. And you are here for a second on this earth. If you do not get the hell off of social media, off of TV. These are futile tasks that do barely anything for your well-being, but it's a great distraction. It is the great distraction.
Mm.
And people are like, oh yeah, that's easy to say, and you know, it is easy to say. It's really hard to do,
Right.
but it matters. It adds up, man. That you don't have a lot of time here, so every minute you spend doing something stupid, it's not a minute you can spend doing something smart. Every
Mm.
dollar you spend doing something stupid, impressing people that don't matter, is
That's
one
right.
more dollar that you didn't get to invest.
Mm.
And it's the life is every single minute that you put towards faith, or every minute you put towards betterment, is 1 minute closer to compounding, right? It just compounds.
Right. Right.
And I
Right.
think that's
That's
I mean,
good.
that's so easy.
That's good.
You know, you do 5 sit-ups and 5 push-ups a night. That's nothing today. A
Right.
year from
For
now,
now. Right.
it's something,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's a compounding effect.
It compounds. I like that, Chris. I
Yeah.
mean, I was going to ask you to close out, but you just you just closed it out right there. You just closed it out, man. That was pretty
Yeah, go do
profound.
something. You want to go do something right now. Just it's Wednesday. Go do something. Do
I like
something
it.
positive instead of whatever you were going to do.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add this to what Chris said, and be thankful and appreciative. That's another
Yeah.
thing. Just do that because you're only gonna gravitate what's in you. If you're mean and hateful, you're gonna get mean and hateful people around you. That's just the bottom line. I don't care who you are, what you say, how much money you make. Eventually, people are not gonna be around it. If you get, it's like oil and water. They don't go together. They just don't go together. But Ben, I want to say thank you very much for coming out to You Going Pro podcast. Man,
But
this has been so quick. The time just went by that
yeah,
fast
it goes fast, man.
because you give out so many.
But isn't that our point?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
goes so fast. If
Because
you
that
hung
means
around this whole time, good for you. That's 40 minutes of doing something hopefully positive. Took
right,
one thing and
right,
go do something with
and
it.
then and we can you can
But
impact
again, like without action though, that's a big piece, man. Knowledge without action or
is useless.
implementation,
It's
what was
useless.
the point?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, and this, I'm gonna say this. You just said it. I mean, faith without works is dead. If you got faith, and you're not activating. You're not putting something with what you believe in. What are you doing? You're wasting
Right.
time. You're
Yeah.
just wasting time. Faith without works is dead. Which I'm gonna close it out, man. Chris, I hate to close it out, but I gotta respect your time. It's just been so good. It's been so quick. Wow. I want to say thank you again, man.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. We talked earlier. You'll get back with me and email me, but I always ask our closing remarks. I ask this question all the time, Chris, which you can probably relate to this. The question is, where are you being led? For all listeners that listen to the show, where are you being led? L stands for listen. Listen to everything Chris and I have said today. I'm going to say it again because people love to talk, but they don't like to listen. Listen, God gave us 2 ears and one mouth. And that means faith comes by hearing. Hearing, not talking. Which the next letter is E, Chris. What do I mean by E? What's LE? E stands for execute on what you just heard. Take one thing that Coach Chris, I call you Coach Chris and
All
myself
right.
had talked about today. Just take one thing and implement it every day for the next 30 days. And I guarantee you the D will come in. What does D stand for, Coach? The D stands for dominate. LED. Where are you being led? You're going down some direction, but what direction are you going? Are you going away from the promise or to the promise? This is Coach Larry, very own YouGoin'Pro podcast with Chris Durant at the Dugout Mugs, the CEO of it, and doing great things. Check out his website. I think it's dugoutmugs.com. Is that right, Chris?
That's where you find it.
Check it out. Check out his webpage. Check out his Instagram. Check out everything, his Twitter. He is available and he's doing some great things, man. Keep up the good work, man. And
Thank you, brother.
thank you very much. Hey, we'll talk again. God bless.
Likewise. Appreciate it.
Bye bye.